Welcome. Today we check out the filming locations to Richard Donner's 1988 Christmas classic Scrooged, starring Bill Murray, Karen Allen, Bobcat Goldthwait, Alfre Woodard, and David Johansen. So kick back and hang out while we explore the filming locations for this holiday classic on today's episode of Where'd They Film That? Our adventure begins today at the Seagram building on 52nd Street and Park Avenue. But in the movie Scrooged, this building served as the headquarters for the IBC network. It's here where we see Bobcat Goldthwait's character Elliot sitting at this spot. He'd just been fired and he's trying to figure out what he's going to tell his family. It's at this point we see two security guys walking up to Elliot with a box of his belongings in hand. They dump it at his feet and then pretty much rudely tell him to take a walk. This pretty much takes place in this general area right here. We now visit the location of Rockefeller Center. It's here where we see Frank and his brother Jim walking down 5th Avenue, coming from 49th Street up to 50th Street, talking about how Frank continues treating people unkindly and his pretty much disdain for the holiday season. As they continue walking down the block talking, you can see behind Frank is the Rockefeller Plaza buildings, and behind James you can see the Saks Fifth Avenue store windows. Both pretty much still look the same after all these years. At this point of the conversation, they stop walking, pretty much symbolizing that Frank doesn't want to hear any more of what James is trying to say to him. Frank tells his brother that he loves him, wishes him a Happy New Year before rushing off to grab a cab. Now when Frank grabs that cab, you would think that he's catching it at the curb, but it's actually at a totally different location about 10 blocks up north, and that's where we're about to head up to next. We are now across the street from the Plaza Hotel on Central Park South. It's here where Frank steals the cab from the sweet old lady. How this happens is as the old lady walks up to the cab and opens the door, Frank comes into the shot, convinces the lady to look down that she dropped something. As she turns, Frank jumps into the cab, closes the door, and when she turns around, sees him in the cab, she tries to plead her case with him. Frank replies with a friendly hand gesture, showing her what he thinks about her and her case as the taxi drives off. If you notice behind the taxi, you see the Plaza Hotel. You could see the 4 windows to the left, and on the right you could see the entrance to the Plaza Hotel. The whole structure pretty much looks the same, minus the scaffolding. We are now on West 64th Street between Broadway and Central Park West. It's on this block where a couple of scenes in the movie were filmed. The scene where Elliot gets splashed by the taxi happens at 5 West 64th Street. It's in this scene where we see Elliot walking down the block talking to himself with a bottle in hand, telling himself what he shoulda, coulda, woulda done but didn't do. As someone is passing him by, he then turns his attention to the bottle he has in hand. He stops, opens it up, and right when he's about to take a sip, a taxi comes down the block and splashes him, drenching him, and also drenching the paper bag, which results in it breaking and the bottle falling to the ground and smashing. Poor Elliot.
Attention! I need beer up here! Now!
Back at IBC headquarters, we see a taxi approach. Out jumps Frank. He walks up to the entrance of the IBC building and takes what I believe is the center revolving doors. Frank walks into the hallway up to the elevator bank where he's greeted by the security guards with a smile. He responds with a half-ass fake smile of his own before going into the elevator up to his office for a drink and an unexpected guest. Our holiday journey now takes us to the Court Square train station located in the Long Island City section of Queens, New York. It's here where Grace and her son Calvin are coming down the subway steps on their way home after a long day. As you can see, a lot has changed over the course of the 35 plus years since the film's been made. If you look at the subway station structure itself, it looks nothing like it did in the late 80s. The only remnants of what the old train station looked like is at one of the station exits across the street. We are now at 43 West 64th Street. It is at this building in the movie Scrooged that doubled as the A&M Club, the restaurant where Frank, his boss Preston, and his rival turned temporary partner Bryce had a rather awkward business luncheon. Now, although the exteriors were shot at this location on West 64th Street, the interior scenes of the restaurant, along with most of the interior scenes of the movie, were all shot at Paramount Studios in California. During this luncheon, Frank would start seeing things such as eyeballs in his drink and waiters on fire. After the awkward scene in the restaurant plays out, Frank excuses himself to get some air, comes out of this door right here, and asks for a taxi to be hailed, which I never kind of understood. Why would you want to get in a taxi if you need air? Especially a New York taxi. The doorman hails a cab for Frank, and as it's approaching, out of nowhere, a second cab backs up in front of Frank. The doorman opens the cab door for Frank, and in he jumps. You'll see the Lincoln Center behind Frank and the doorman, along with the building to the left, both of which pretty much look the same after all these years. As soon as the cab door closes, the cab speeds down the block to this point right here before making a U-turn and driving up the block in the wrong direction. And I believe the whole cab making the U-turn sequence happened in this section of the block right here. If you look at the buildings surrounding the area where the U-turn happened, they look pretty similar to the way they do today. Another clue is when you see the taxi driving into the awning. If you look across the street, there's a green awning with the address 29. And that's the awning right here, just blue. Now, as the scene plays out, you can see in the windshield and the back window the different scenes like the Lincoln Center or Central Park West. But they also filmed around the corner on West 65th Street. It's while they're driving down the block here, you can see clearly the church steeple on the corner. That all happened on this block here. That steeple is part of the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, which is located on West 65th Street and Central Park West. Another fun fact about this location is its neighbor, the building next door, was in another famous Bill Murray movie. As the cab continues going down the block, we run into our friend Elliot again, who has a fresh bottle of alcohol in hand. And once again, right when he's about to take a swig, the cabbie comes out, grabs it out of his hands, and continues going down the block. That all took place in this area right here. Elliot just can't catch a break. We are now on 41st Drive in Queens, New York, and it is on this block where the cab from Christmas Past comes out of the smoke and into the year 1955. As they continue down the block, they go through the Dulligan's truck as they continue on their merry way until they reach Frank's childhood home. As Frank is looking around the block, he and the Ghost of Christmas Past have a brief conversation before making their way up to the front door. Similar to the restaurant scene, all the interior scenes were shot at Paramount Studios, but all the exterior shots were filmed at this location. Our final location takes us to 45th Avenue in Queens, New York. This is the site of Frank's brother James's apartment. After pretty much kicking the ever-loving crap out of Frank, the Ghost of Christmas Present takes him to Frank's brother's house, and as the scene plays out, we actually begin to get a glimpse of a softer side of Frank. And although it was a quick establishing shot, it was filmed at this location. I never knew Locke's wife was such an ass kicker.
I know, goody goody.
This brings us to the end of our adventure for today. And although there is the final third of the movie that was filmed at Paramount Studios, which involved the Ghost of Christmas Future and Frank's eventual embracing of the holiday spirit, I do hope you enjoyed the locations we got to check out today. And until next time, have a happy holidays.